What's the worst cartoon you've ever seen? Hold that thought, because I can guarantee you it's not as bad as Swirl Fighters. Swirl Fighters is one of a mountain of Beyblade knockoffs. This one comes out of us from China by the Zhejiang group, made in 2004, which is why it's in standard definition, and it is not just a bizarre knockoff, it is probably one of the most bizarre things I have ever seen, and like I said, probably the worst cartoon ever. I mean, say what you want about Dingo Pictures, at least all the stuff they made ended in a single episode. So, remember how they had that period where Korea was making all these really terrible anime knockoffs? Well, China is kind of in that stage of its development even right now, and especially in 2004. Now, I know I said I'd talk about Infinity Natto at some point, but I'm getting into Swirl Fighters first because, frighteningly enough, a lot of the things that happen in Infinity Natto seem to draw inspiration from this. So, let's take a look at the first episode of Swirl Fighters. The terribleness begins right away as we start with an opening sequence that is little more than a montage set to some music. Yeah, right away we have an opening that not only has really bad sounding music, but doesn't even have any lyrics. It sounds more like the demo track they make while trying to compose a theme song rather than an actual one. And even then, this thing overstays its welcome by lasting a full 1 minute and 40 seconds. And this is a 22-minute episode. This is a standard thing. This isn't what you'd cut. It's just all straight up 1 minute and 40 seconds, and it's awfully obsessed with rickshaws for some reason. I thought this was supposed to be a show about battling tops. There's 3 possibilities here. 1, they thought that the show really did deserve a 1 minute and 40-minute opening that would just be so amazing. 2, there is a theme song in Chinese, but they just didn't bring the lyrics over in a lazy attempt to save time. Or 3, it's just a stall on the running time. All of those are honestly equally possible. Oh wait, here it is. Theme song lyrics by Shunrong Shen. Wow, great job on those, guy. So our episode begins with what I can only assume are recycled assets like what you see in The Incredible Bulk. In fact, the scene going across the city with the Jeep driving by is reused again in the first episode of Season 2. Yes, you heard that right. Of an establishing shot of the building, and another establishing shot of the building, and another one, and then suddenly we're in the far plane. And let's have a look at these designs, shall we? They kind of look like a cross between Code Lyoko and Tentacolino, or like they were derived from those awful How to Draw manga books, as opposed to the good How to Draw manga books.
There once was a legend. It had something to do with a treasure.
So our bad guy is having an exposition monologue, and the lip flaps don't match in the slightest. Big surprise.
There was only one way to release the treasure. To line up all 7 Swirl Fighters according to the 7 stars of the Northern Dipper. Sounds fascinating, doesn't it?
This show looks like a parody of what anime is as depicted on some kind of American cartoon show.
You will never beat my clan! Jin Shu can spit acid and tap dance! Oh yeah? Well, Macrame has laser beam tongues and has memorized the works of Ken Burns! Oh.
But no! This thing is real! It is made to sell toys! You can buy them on Taobao! They designed a roller coaster for this!
And that person is none other than me!
That's right, Lord Bass.
Lord Bass. Nah. After finishing one rant, he then goes straight into another one. And like every few seconds, they're using a sort of swooshing background effect, which looks like yet more pre-bought assets, and they use these things a lot. They use them like everywhere that they're too lazy to do a background, and you'll see just what sort of effect it has on the show as we go on. And when I pause them, I can see just how super bit crunched they are, and dear God, that face. So our bad guy thinks he has all 7 of the special Swirl fighters, and he spins them and aligns them in the shape of the Big Dipper, but 3 of them explode because they're fakes. Got tricked into getting counterfeit Beyblades? I know how that feels, man. So the angry bad guy then sends his minions out to go get the 3 remaining discs, Swirl fighters, whatever you call them. And then, in a natural progression of things, we see a middle-aged lady yelling at an old man because...
Your tiger boy has gone and sneaked off with my tricycle again!
Because her tricycle is missing? Aren't you a bit old for those? And she doesn't shut up. She keeps saying things that I don't think I or anybody else would care about.
And as you very well know, the champion of the annual Swirl Fighter tournament gets the best disc. It'll be a waste for him to use that against your boy's wooden disc, but it should be fun to see the match anyway, I think. So, Grandpa, are you gonna come...
Okay, I have it literally written down here, but I'm just gonna say it. What is going on? This show seriously needs to stop flavoring its coffee with cocaine.
I'm sure you all know who I am. I'm the Invincible King Wooden Disc, but you can just call me what my friends do, Tiger.
So this avid fan of 101 Dalmatians is our main character, Tiger, I guess. And he's busy showing off on a rickshaw. Okay, that's not a tricycle, that's a rickshaw, and... seriously, the rickshaws again?
This year's Swirl Fighter tournament title is only going to be a 2-person match between me and Hannibal.
Hannibal? A Beyblader once tried to test me. I ate his spinner with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. I've got it written here again. What is going on? Yeah, this sort of thing happens all over the place, where somebody's reaction is crazy over the top, bodies deform, faces go crazy. It's the sort of thing that constantly happens in things that are terrible anime, where they don't really understand how the distortions are supposed to work or when they're supposed to be put into play, and instead just do it constantly in a massive cavalcade of annoyance. And I guess that ends that scene. So I guess Hannibal is sort of our comparison to Kai, who is mixed with the Code Lyoko character and is watching from the roof. He's also being stalked by babyface villain number 2, who is using the most brilliant disguise ever. Man, that disguise puts Clark Kent to shame. So then we see Tiger showing off, but then Hannibal shows up and all the girls turn into Sonic the Hedgehog and go after them. And yet somehow Tiger beats all of them there.
Great continuity!
It looks like he's gonna accept the challenge. Good.
Good. Okay, what's this, Tiger? Whose top did you steal just now? Our match is a kid with a little wooden top that he made at home versus something called laser armor. I wonder how this is going to go. Oh, thrilling. I can't handle the excitement. So yeah, Tiger gets his butt wrecked and the spy is all like, my plan to take an object from a small child can wait. Dear God, we're only halfway through this episode.
Oh, poor little wooden disc.
While taking his grandpa home on the rickshaw, Tiger explains his headband.
Well, you see, today's the 101st time that I've challenged Hannibal.
To this response.
What's that? Did you just say you challenged Hannibal 101 times?
Robber. Like I said, this show needs to cut back on its caffeine. And then suddenly Tiger and his grandpa enter the warp. And Grandpa's all like, oh good, 88 miles per hour. Meanwhile, back at the Bass Pro Shop of Evil,
That's the one, the King Kong armor.
they immediately give laser armor a different name, because that's how consistency works. Later, at Hannibal's place,
The upper attack ring you see here is the armor attack ring.
the armor attack ring is the armor attack ring? I never would have guessed!
Oh yeah, I nearly forgot. Another bunch of girls showed up today asking for your autograph, Hannibal. Hey, just look at this. Hey, did you hear what I said?
It never ends. Ow! And then we have have a rickshaw-themed flashback. What's with all of these rickshaws? Did the writer, like, really hate battling tops? It's like, no, I want to write a show about rickshaws. So then the next day, Tiger comes back and bothers Hannibal again, so Hannibal fights him again and beats him again. Turns out using a junky wooden top is no match for a piece of plastic. The wood is so bad that it actually got scratched by a junky plastic top? Are you kidding? And then suddenly evil minion number 2 attacks with his top that can conjure tornadoes. I'm gonna argue coincidence?
No one can withstand the wind!
So then evil minion number 2 attacks again, and the episode ends on a cliffhanger. Oh dear God, it's a 2-parter. So then the next time on Dragon Ball Z sequence begins, and then the narrator kind of stops, and the preview keeps going for a while.
Unexpectedly, while Tiger was challenging the last Swirl Fighter champion Hannibal to a match, a fierce rival showed up with plans of his own.
And then finally, that most welcome of sights, the end credits. Although it's another case where the song is clearly just sort of a demo track and there's no lyrics for it, and this one lasts almost as long as the opening at 1 minute and 30 seconds. So that's Swirl Fighters, and where do I start? Between the terrible voice acting, the terrible character designs, the terrible writing, the terrible pacing, the terrible computer animation, the terrible sound design, the terrible everything, we have what is quite possibly the room of anime. Indeed, Swirl Fighters is so terrible that it's funny. This is probably the deepest I have ever seen an anime go to be this terrible. And I don't know if I can even call it anime, because it's not even made in Japan and it's barely animated, so... And this is the first episode of a show that apparently went on for 3 seasons. Apparently, like, it got its most recent season just a few years ago. This thing, like I said, it's not a parody. This isn't a joke like The Incredible Bulk or something. This is a genuine effort made to sell toys. And the fact that it went on for several seasons tells me that, to some extent, it succeeded. They designed a roller coaster after this thing. Okay, I think that's enough. Support me on Patreon if you want to see more. They got to see more. Subscribe if you like it, and